Welcome to Q&A with Qlik. Today we're going to be talking about app development and all the analytics and visualizations therein. Just want to introduce myself. My name's Troy Rainey. I help put together webinars and videos like this one. We've got perhaps a familiar expert panel for you today. Ola, why don't you tell us quickly a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So I work as a senior technical content developer. So I make a lot of material for the Qlik Learning site. I've been working with Qlik for a little bit more than 10 years.
Thanks. And Patrick?
Yeah, my name is Patrick. I'm lead product designer for analytics. So I work with the UI, UX, and all the feature functionalities in analytics client. And I've been here also for more than 10 years.
Awesome. Well, when you registered, you have an opportunity to kind of pre-submit some questions, and we have a few of those we want to address first. But if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A tool now. First question: what are Qlik Cloud subscription options? And does Qlik Sense Enterprise SaaS have access to any Qlik Talend Cloud data integration services?
Uh, sure. So as you most of you hopefully know that we're currently moving on to a capacity-based pricing model, and there's a lot of more information on exactly how that works and what's included on Qlik Help. But basically speaking, if you have enterprise SaaS, you will have access to some limited data talent cloud integration capabilities. More information on that on Qlik Help.
Great. And next question: where can I find out about deploying Qlik apps into different environments as a part of a software development lifecycle?
Here's a little bit depending on which platform we're talking about. If we're looking at QlikView and Qlik Sense on premise, there's a Qlik Deployment Framework called the QDF. More information on that on Qlik Community. Troy's showing it on the screen right now, and we'll share the link to it. So that's been there for a while, and it's very worked through, and it has everything you could want within that. There is also alpha version of the QDF for Qlik Cloud, which covers some of the basics there, and it's a work in progress. But it could be a good starting point if you want to work with the QDF on Qlik Cloud as well. And that's both on the community, and there's a Git repo for it as well if you want to check that out.
Great. Next question. We're migrating from QlikView to Qlik Sense Cloud and have several pivot tables. Do those work the same in Qlik Cloud?
So there are similar capabilities, but there's also some enhancements. So in nature, the fact that we can pivot by having columns and rows is the same. Then depends on which pivot table you're using in Qlik Sense. We have two pivot tables, one which I'm going to call the old pivot table. Within it, there are some restrictions, as in you can't, for example, add images. You can't resize the columns in the way that you really want, but you can allow interactive pivoting within the table from an end user. While the new pivot table has resizable columns, it has the ability to put in images in there and other things. It does not allow you in that interactive pivoting. That's something we're working on, hoping to get that out for this year. So I would say click with the Qlik Sense. Yes, the pivot table should be there for your use.
Fantastic. Next question. Is there any way to make changes in one app and have those changes cascade down to several similar apps?
So this depends on the platform, of course. I would
Hmm.
say if you're on Qlik Cloud, then it's an application automation where you could have a base app that you have as your private space or a shared space that you're working on. And when you update a sheet in there, you could run an automation that takes that sheet and replaces the sheets in the other apps so that, for example, the first sheet, if you want to update the KPIs or something, it could replace. So with Qlik Automation, anything is possible there. If we're talking on-prem, you can do similar things with APIs, but it's more up to you how you want to develop those APIs, if it's .NET or other methods and so on. Yep.
Great. Thanks for that. Next question. Is there any documentation on good practices for development framework for Qlik Cloud?
Uh, yeah, this was the one that we kind of answered on the other QDF question as well. So there
Right.
is an alpha version, and we can post a link to that. And that's something that you could use as a basis, at least.
Is this
Or it's in beta now. Sorry,
beta?
it's
All
a it's a
right.
it's a beta version. So that should be a good starting point.
All right, I'll just post that link. Great. And next question. Is it possible to apply security or section access on each table as opposed to one field in an entire data set? I'm trying to avoid bridging tables and keeping the data model simple.
So section access allows you to use it on a row and column level in a data model, and that's kind of the limitations of it. So you can take away rows and you can take away columns.
All right, well, that sounds like that would work then. Great. Next question. Is it possible to access larger pools of data to complement our own business data, like weather, stock exchange data, Facebook, social media? Is that still possible to do?
Yes, so I know that we used to have built-in functionality in Qlik Sense where you were allowed to access certain amounts of this data. So that's probably where the question is coming from.
Hmm.
Nowadays, we reference our connectors as a way to connect to external data sources. So there's connector packages for Qlik Sense, and then there are the Qlik Cloud connectors as well, where you can, there are general REST connectors, for example, so you can access that data through APIs for services that have that as well.
Great. Next question. What is a good course to learn more about building new apps?
So we have the Qlik Learning Platform,
I have that
and
preloaded here.
excellent, great, thank you. So the Qlik Learning Platform has a lot of free courses and materials for managing kind of the basics of all our different platforms. We're launching a new experience now, the 17th as well. So I do recommend that you go in after that and get access to even newer and updated courses, which have more interactive components in them than previous courses has. But if you go in there and you watch all the free stuff, it's going to take you weeks to walk through it. So there's a lot of good resources there. I would recommend looking more at that.
Yeah, excited to see that new update. That's be pretty cool. Next question. How can I allow a user to select the time frame for data shown in a line chart?
So this would be a typical use case where you use variables, where you have a set expression to define which timestamp you want to start with, which timestamp you want to end with, and you would use some type of dashboard control. It could be a variable input object, it could be a calendar object to define that variable start and end date. Or if we're just talking about switching between months and quarters or years, you could just do either cyclic dimensions, or you could have multiple dimensions added to a chart and allow the user to switch between what granularity they want to see their data in. So those are the two use cases for changing what's on the chart level.
Great. Next question. What chart would you recommend to visualize an org chart?
So the simple answer to that is an org chart, and I can understand why it might be confusing to find where it is. So if I share my screen,
Yeah,
I can show
let
you.
me, I'll just stop sharing. There you go.
So I will be using Qlik Cloud now. We updated the asset panel, the look and feel. So if you're on-prem, don't be scared about it looking very different. It will come to you also. It has some updated features, functionalities. So if you go into edit mode, of course, and if you open up the custom objects, and depending on if you're on cloud, you have the Qlik visualization bundle or Qlik dashboard bundle. If you're on-prem during installation, you add in these as optional packages that you can install. And in here, in the visualization bundle, we have an org chart that makes it possible for you, if you have the data in the correct format, to create this type of org chart where, well, in this case, I'm actually using it to track KPIs, but you have a manager on the top. you have people or things below, and you have the ability to expand to see whatever is below there. Zoom functionality, color on the background. I think you can add images and things like that. So the reason why you haven't seen it maybe is because it is in the bundle, which is in the custom objects, compared to shards, which is the more native and easy findable objects.
That's great. Thanks. Okay, next question. Is there a good way to create a reload button to allow a user to kick off a task? I believe the user needs a professional license and there are other resources correct for setting up a security rule, but what's a good way to make that happen? Since we're talking about security rules, it sounds like it's in the client managed version.
Yeah, if it's client managed, I'm not certain. If it would be in cloud, it would be application automation. So I think we're gonna have to get back to you on that one,
Okay.
Yeah.
unless Ola knows something.
No, yeah. So if
Mm.
you're in the cloud version, on the button object, you can run an automation through the button,
Yeah.
and that would allow you to solve those tasks. As of right now, on the on-prem version, you can't set individual security rules on a specific chart or object within an application. So you need to manage that in another way in that case.
All right. Next question. What are best practices on version control with apps in Qlik Cloud? For example, exporting them via automation as an XML file to track changes. I feel like I've seen that as a template in
I
automation,
believe that is
no?
a template in application automation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there is a template in application automation for that. When it comes to the best practices, the template covers some of them on like how to add comments and you can add interactive variables to send version numbers and so on and so forth. And then there's also an automation for importing from GitHub back into the platform as well. There's also inside of the script editor built into the platform, there's version handling as well.
That's right.
I think it's about a year old or something like that, but you can look at that so that there's built-in functionality for the script part at least.
Great. All right, next question. How can I predefine the column width in a pivot table?
I can show you that. So I'll share my screen again.
Yeah.
There we go. So first of all, I'm using the old pivot table. As I talked about before, we're developing a new pivot table. It will replace the old pivot table once it gets up to parity. So in the old pivot table, there are no settings on the property panel for these kind of things. Instead, the only thing you can do is you can adjust the what we call the divider between the columns and rows. So yeah, it's not that much. But if you go into custom objects and if you go to the visualization bundle and you take the new pivot table, you can just easily replace it. And let's add in the dimension country. Let's add in dimension year. Let's add in cylinders maybe. This is the cars dataset, which I always use for demoing. Then within a new pivot table, you can see here that if I open up one of these in here, there is a column width option in here, which is auto, which adapts to the text size. And you can go in and actually, I think it's divided equally. You can say fit the content, you can input pixels, you can input percentages, and so on. So for example, in this case here with the cylinders, I think they're kind of large because it takes up the entire space. So I could go in here and just say, I want to have a couple of fewer pixels for my pivot table. So that's fully controllable if you're using the new pivot table instead.
Great, thanks. Okay, next question. We need to assess the impact of an SQL table change on Qlik apps. Is there a way to search all load scripts to find the app that uses that table? Ah, that's a good question.
Think
Sorry.
about, yeah.
Yeah. No. Yes. There is. We have data lineages as a part of the cloud platform, and with the help of data lineage, you can see which files are used within a certain application in your environment. Data lineage is not available in all tiers, so you have to have a certain tier to be able to access all that information. But it's available through data lineage.
Yeah, I haven't used it that much. I know it's pretty cool and I've seen it demonstrated, but where do you find that? Is it in one of the drop downs like script editor analytics? Is it in by app
So
or is it by
this is
space?
in the, if you find the data source, if you find the connector, I think you click then on Lineage, and you can see everything that happens
Ah,
downstream wherever it's being used.
okay,
So
thank
it's
you.
more a catalog feature rather than an in-app feature.
Great. Appreciate that. So if you don't see that, then maybe reach out to your account manager and ask about lineage.
Mm.
All right, next question. Any plans for editable bookmarks?
So if we're talking about editing the selections, that is possible on cloud. I believe it's been released client managed on-prem, but I haven't tested myself. I can share my screen and I can show you that that's done.
Sure.
So if I go in here and if I select a couple of countries, open up the asset panel, bookmarks, and I'll create my new bookmark.
Sorry, we're not seeing what you're sharing.
You're not seeing what I'm sharing. Let me stop sharing and share again. Can you see now?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. So I have a bookmark here with countries in it. And you can see here that if I go to details, it has the countries in here. It also has an update bookmark. So if I go out here and if I change so that we don't have as many countries selected, and if I open up the bookmarks, so go to the details pane, and I click, that was the wrong bookmark, countries, details, update bookmark. Yes, I will be replacing the current selection with it, and now it's Japan instead. So that's how we would update the selection of our bookmark, which is what I guess that's wanted. I don't believe it changes things like if variables are included or layout state. That's something you do when you're creating it. That can't be modified afterwards.
Hmm. Well, that's great. Thank you for clarifying. There was a follow-up to a previous question about the reload button, asking about the rights of the person. If the user only has a basic license, are they allowed to use a reload button on Qlik Cloud?
I would like to say yes on that. I now because the question is being asked, I became a little bit more uncertain. But the rights of the individual object inside of the application, if someone has set up that automation, it should be able to be run if anyone pushes the button.
But do they need to have access to the data as well? Like if it's the data's in this perhaps in the same space, maybe they have, I'm not sure on that. If they need access to the data that's being reloaded or not.
I mean, it's an automation that's run. When you push the button, the automation is run. The person who has set up the automation and configured that needs to have
Okay,
access to
right.
the data inside of the automation. And then the user, if they can just see a limited part of that data set, they will still just see the limited part of that data set, even though it's reloaded. But the access in that case is set on the automation, not on the button.
That makes sense. Thanks. Okay, next question. Is it possible to download files that are generated in the Qlik Cloud environment?
Yes. Once again, the best way to do this is through automations. To set up automations to download if you want to schedule a download or stuff like that. But if you have access to the data space itself where the data is stored, you can download from there as well.
Yeah,
But
and they're
otherwise,
just saying
yeah.
downloading files. They're not specific that it's a QVD file or anything like that. You
No,
can download apps as well.
yeah, you can download as long as you're allowed.
Yeah, but that's definitely possible. Okay, next question about the pivot table. On Qlik pivot, is there any possible way or future enhancement to have the columns ungrouped so as to allow pivoting of two somewhat independent columns against the same rows dimensions and show in the same table? Example might be where first 12 columns show the last 12 months, then the next four columns show the quarter results all side by side. Okay.
So I'm thinking this could be done either through a value list. So you use a value list to define what are the dimensional values, and then you have to say, well, of course, problem there being that it's going to be the static 12 months. You can always create a dimension from multiple fields. You could have the field months first and then a field quarter, and you can make certain that there's no connection between them. So you're not going to end up with January Q1, but rather January empty, February empty. Then when you get to December empty, you're going to get empty Q1, Q2, and Q3 instead. So I would say it's possible, but I don't have any data to show how that would be done right now. I think it's an excellent question also for Qlik community. If you have example data, post on Qlik community in the app development or any of the forums in there and ask how it could be done. Either me or other people are going to be in there and look at those examples and give you tips and tricks and maybe even do the work for you and just upload an app and show you what the result of it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to show on screen where you can find on Qlik Community the forums, but it's an excellent opportunity to engage with the 200 plus thousand users that are out there. This is the app development forum. It's a great place to post questions like that. Uh, Next question. I'm wondering how to access the latest scheduled reload through automation without reloading the app during the automation. I don't know if I quite understand that. So the access the task without
If
actually
it
reloading it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was reading that question as well. I mean, is it that we want to see information about which task has been reloaded
So they're writing in the
last?
chat, accessing the data of the reload task.
Ah, okay. Thanks for the follow-up.
I would say excellent question also for the community because we have people there who are more used to application automation than either of us.
In fact, there's even a whole forum
Yep.
just on application automation. So that's a great forum for that question. Sorry, we don't have more details, but that
But
is a great
you,
question.
yeah, if you have access to the automation itself, you can go in and look at the history of the automation, and you can see the latest run. And inside of that, you can see what data has been affected by it. You need
Okay.
to be able to read that syntax, and it's a little bit complicated before you get used to it. But there you can see get access to that, and that's available if you have access to application automation through kind of the management console there.
One question slipped into the chat. I just saw it, so I don't want to miss it. We have a table that when you download to a PDF, it limits this to one page. What's the best setup to allow a multi-page PDF download based on the number of rows?
I would say
But
look at reporting services, which is it's similar to mprinting if you're familiar with that product, but it's for the cloud environment. So you can go in there and you can build custom reports on applications and visualizations. So that kind of allows you to build more of a custom report. It could be as a PDF or an Excel document, a Word document. There are many different formats you can use that, but that's one way. Another one is also to revisit the old stories that we have storytelling, because there you can also kind of set up your you can look at specific visualizations and also set those up as well.
That's great. Thanks. Next question. Is there an easy way to transfer master visualizations and sheets from one app to another without corrupting the already existing instances of that master item in a copied sheet?
not that I know
Sounds like,
of. They want to update,
yeah, they want to make changes to the
yeah.
master visualization. Yeah.
Not that nothing I ever tried to do, so I wouldn't be able to say.
No, they're still, I understand, at least connected to the applications where they
Yeah.
are created. There might be third-party tools or custom tools that allow this, but
Yeah.
it's nothing that I've tried myself, so that's nothing I can recommend.
All right. That's fair. Next question. What is the best approach to build mobile app embedding ClickSense objects and visualizations?
Mhm.
Mobile app embedding. So we're talking about taking ClickSense objects and visualizations and embedding them in a mobile app. So maybe this is like an OAM use case.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on technology. If you want to build a pure mobile app, I would probably use embedding of web pages and load the web pages. You just create those and embed the objects in there. But I mean, it depends on how you want to develop the mobile app.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
If you're building your own mobile app, or
yeah.
I'm not certain about that.
If you want to build an application in Qlik, that's easy to view on the mobile because we do have a Qlik app, and you can also, of course, go through the responsive design of the web page as well. But I mean, one way to do that is to kind of build an application specifically for mobile and play around a little bit with the visualizations that you're using. Maybe take away some extra filters that aren't necessary and just focus on a couple of visualizations for kind of your business case there.
great. Next question. Can you point me to documentation for Qlik Cloud to use automations to replace sheets from an app in a shared space with sheets in another shared space? Okay.
Is this kind of a follow-up question for the last one, or
Yep, I think
uh,
so.
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't know if
one?
there's any we have templates within application automation. We're just gonna have to see if there's exist one or not.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a template available for it, but I know that the application automation team is very glad and happy to create templates where we feel like there are missing ones. So I would recommend going to community and reaching out to the application automation team themselves and ask if they can create a template for it or such, because there isn't, as I know, any already created article on it.
Yeah, I think they're pretty active in that
Yeah.
application automation forum that I was just showing. So do check that out. Uh, there's a follow-up question to that org chart. That org chart was really cool. Our newly established tenant is very bare bones right now. Where should I start to find out more about these custom objects and other things we might do to enhance the experience building in our tenant?
So if we talk about tenant on cloud, then it should already be available in there within the custom objects. So we have the Qlik visualization bundle, the Qlik dashboard bundle that comes with your cloud tenant. And as I said, if it's on-prem, then it has to do with installation that you check that these should be installed. If we're looking at the other charts out there, there's partners out there, there's tech people who are creating their own extensions and so on that they share with other people. Qlik community is a good place to find what other people are doing, and then you can download from GitHub and so on the extensions and upload them to cloud or on-prem, and it will also show up in custom objects within their own section.
Well, isn't there a course where people can learn about the whole visualization bundle and those custom objects and how to use them?
Yep.
Um, I'm unsure about that one. Sorry.
I feel like
Yeah,
I have taken that course myself on
yeah,
learning.qlik.com. So
yeah.
do check out learning.qlik.com and visualizations and see what you can find there. But I believe they demo and show you where to find everything that's already out of the box. Next question. Is there any way to associate two QVF models of on the flight or with any API mechanism? I didn't know if that was on the fly. So two QVF, that's two different data models.
Yep.
Okay.
Not on the fly that I know of. I mean, you could create an app and load all the tables from each app.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I was thinking,
Yeah.
like, yeah, why not just combine them? But
But on the fly, you can't have one sheet using two data models. No, it's more I create a load script. I make certain that the data from both these apps are in there, and then I run the reload, and they will, yeah, you will get a full app with both the data models in it.
and depending on how much, I mean, there is alternate states, right? But
Yeah.
that's not maybe not quite the same thing as an entirely different data model. Okay, next question. We're currently testing tabular reporting. Great. And have the problem that total lines are missing when we add a table and create an Excel report based on it. Is this expected behavior? Ooh. Have you guys played around with tabular reporting much? I remember I was in some demos with Andrew Kruger where we showed how to do it, but I haven't used
No,
it
but I
much
would say
myself.
anything, if you think something should be there, and if something is missing, either ask in the community if other people are experiencing it, but also sending a support ticket if you're believing it's actually wrong, and we'll see if it's a bug or if it's expected behavior or if there's something else that's wrong with it.
I
Yeah,
know that there's been some limitations with exporting tables from previous versions of Qlik, but also look a little bit at this Qlik reporting services product as well, because there, when you build your custom reports, you can build your own tables where you add totals in the end of them as well.
that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
so that's something that kind of solves all these custom requests for exporting tables and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be possible. So
Yeah.
if you're not quite sure, it's not working for you, maybe post a question here in the reporting services and alerting forum, or yeah, try that. Next question. I had issues with some of the new objects in the Qlik visualization bundle showing up in subscriptions, specifically when sent as PDF files. Can you demonstrate whether or not this is still an issue? I had this issue specifically with pivot table and the custom object under the new Qlik visualization bundle.
Not no issue that I know of, but if you're experiencing issue, please send a support ticket and we'll have a look at it
Yeah.
because they should show up in the report. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Is there a way to search for text in the sheets of an object or of an app? Sorry. For example, search a variable to check if it's being used or a particular table column. Exporting the app as XML would be an option, but I'm not sure if that's possible.
There
So I
are
think,
some, sorry.
yeah, you can go.
And there are monitoring apps that you can look at that kind of read app metadata, where you can go in and you can look at which sheets are being accessed, which visualizations are being clicked, and so on. So that's kind of the easiest way to do it, and then you can just choose a specific app ID, and you can look at all the data for that specific app.
I see someone's recommending in the chat that it could be possible using the Qlik CLI unbuild as an option.
There are also external tools out there, QSDA, for example, that I think would look through your app, look through all the columns, fields, see where they're being used or not being used. I don't know if they're doing variables or not, but I know they're looking at what data is used or not used. If you want to go for an external tool and pay for that also.
Great. Next question. What are the best practices with Qlik Cloud to implement write-back scenarios?
Application automation, if we're talking cloud, using variable input boxes and so on to then take that data and write it back to the source or write it to something that can be loaded in and so on. But yeah, if it's on-prem, I don't think there's anything that we have natively built in, but there are many partners out there who have their own solution for write back on-prem or cloud.
Great. Next question. Uh, has the new pivot table fully replaced the old one?
Why hasn't anyone?
Yeah.
So I would say it's about time. It's a time question. It's what is the highest priority? I would
Yeah.
love for all our bundle objects to either replace the native ones if they have if there is the same object or to be in there. But it's about priorities. So X amount of developers, X amount of time. Yeah. But we're working at least on the tables to replace them and have the old ones more pushed out as older objects. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Next question. Is it possible to feature a merge or unmerge the repetitive cell values across rows or across columns in a pivot table?
So I think this is a perfect place for ideation to show that, where you can request the feature enhancement, feature functionalities to our product.
I knew I'd preloaded that. Here it is. You can find it under support, right? Yeah, support, ideation, browse and suggest. This is where you as a customer or user can see other suggestions that people have posted and vote on them, to upvote them, or to recommend your own. And there's some instructions here on learning about how this page works and how to actually submit your own suggestions for improvement. So please check out ideation. I'll post the link. Next question. You mentioned earlier that the Qlik team is working on adding interactive column functionality to the new pivot table potentially this year. Could you talk more about the timeline? Would this mean users would be able to switch column orders in the pivot table? And also, would this added functionality be available in the client managed version of Qlik?
Yep. So I can't talk about when. I'm not a person who can decide when things get done. I can hopefully help how it's done with the design. It would work the same as the new straight table. And I know there's a question further down asking about how you can allow self-service reporting for people to create their own measures and dimensions. So I'll show how that is done in the straight table now, and then you can imagine how it will look like when it comes to the pivot table. So I share my screen and hopefully it works this time.
Yep, go ahead.
So I have the new straight table here, and if I go to
It's not
properties,
shared yet, sorry.
still not.
I think I have to stop sharing before you share.
Yeah, maybe I'm too fast on sharing. Can you see
Okay, now
now?
it's, yeah.
Yep. So I have the new straight table in here with a couple of dimensions and measures. I have no alternative ones. So I can go in here and I can turn on chart exploration. What this will do is it will show a panel on the left-hand side for the people consuming this sheet, this visualization, where they can, for example, include or exclude what data they want to have in there in the table. So yeah, with the selections, I have quite a few ones in here. And you can also move the order of these columns interactively by just moving these up and down. So imagine the same thing for a pivot table where you have columns, rows, values. You can check and uncheck what data to be in the pivot table, and you can move the dimensions and the measures around in the order and also move them from columns to rows. So that's something being developed, but as I said, I can't really say when that will be released.
That's fair. Thank you. Next question. In Qlik Cloud, would you be able to have the ability to edit QVS data files? Right now, you have to export and re-import if changes need to be made to those files.
I know that there's a script functionality inside of Qlik Cloud where you can build your own script files within the platform. So in the same way as you can create applications and automations and so on, you can also create script files and edit them inside of Qlik. And that's when you're in Cloud and Create, you'll see that there's a script functionality there. So that's where I would work with my scripts if I had to work
Fantastic.
with them in Cloud.
Great. Next question. What's the best way to clean out logs after a set number of days in Qlik Sense? I'm not familiar with that setting, but I feel like it is possible.
Yeah. There might be something in the admin console. Otherwise, it's purging the script files from the server where they're stored.
Yeah. That's a very good question. It's just been a while since I've worked with that, but I feel like it's a part of the config to like keep
Yeah,
log files for a set number of days.
yeah, I think so as well. I just don't. I haven't been in there for a while either.
Yeah. Sorry for not providing better detail on that one, but it's definitely possible. Next question. What are the limitations on the new file via direct access gateway? Uh, File size limits, something like that. We did, I did a Techspert talk fairly recently. May have been a year ago now, but it's still very valid on direct access gateway and all the things in there. I'll see if I can find the link and provide you so you can see a demo and walk through all the settings there. But that's definitely possible. Next question. Apart from web mashup, is there a simpler way to share or to port filters across two Qlik Sense apps? Talking about enterprise, not cloud.
So if we talk about enterprise, you can use I'll share my screen. You can use the app integration API, which is actually just the URL based. So you have the machine name, server name, proxy if you have that, sense, app ID, sheet, etc. And then towards the end of the app here, then you can do selections. For example, I think you have down here. You can clear the selections. You can set a bookmark. You can also send which values to select within which fields. So what I've seen people do if they want to move selections from one app to another is that they create a button object, and then they do that to open up a web page, URL being then the other app that you want to use, and then at the end of that they parse the selections that they have. So they go through every field, every selection, and they add that as a string towards the end of the URL. And that way a user can do selections in one app, click the button, and the selections are moved to the other app. If you're talking about on-prem. If we're talking about cloud, then I think we have the application chaining on the button where you can say, open this app with these selections. But on-prem app integration API, I think would be the best one.
That's great. Thank you. Uh, I see subscriptions allow for downloads of visualizations as PDF files and PowerPoint files. Is there a way to schedule a download or subscription of a tabular visualization as an Excel file, perhaps through an automation?
Yes, you can do that through automations or through cloud reporting. So you can use both those, and you can schedule. You can put up. I mean, it could be a daily schedule, an hourly schedule. You can put up anything you want to kind of export them.
Fantastic. Great. Next question. Is it possible to set font sizes at an object level for tables specifically? And second part of this question, reduce the row height or padding of rows and tables and pivot tables in Qlik Cloud.
So on number one, yes, I'll share my screen. If we talk about the new tables mainly, we have a styling panel, which is in presentation here, where you can go in and you can either set, for example, the title, subtitle, footer, the background, border, and so on. Or you can go into more chart specific ones and you can say what is the font and the font size of the headers, either for all headers, for dimension values, measure values, your total values, and so on. You can also set the row height, but this is more how many rows do you want to have if you have, for example, multiple line ones. But there is currently no setting for changing the padding or reducing the height other than changing the font size. If you change the font size of the values, then you will reduce the height also. But there's still a padding that's in there.
That's great. And next question, when would it be possible to have automations stored in a shared space?
Hopefully this year.
Great.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Can two objects be positioned on top of each other in the layout container so that by toggling a value in a variable, one object appears or the other one does, but they are both in the same place on the sheet?
Yes, you can do it using either the layer container if you want to have multiple objects, or and for example, if you want to have both of them objects visible at the same time. Otherwise, you can use the tab container and have two tabs, and you can have a show condition on the tabs. So both the tabs in the tab container and the objects in layer container have show conditions. So that can be easily done.
Fantastic. Next question. While loading XML, is there a way to read an attribute of the parents element? Hmm.
Not
Um,
anything I've done.
No,
Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
mean, when you import an XML file into a script, for example, which is probably the easiest way to see which possibilities there are some choices or selections that you can make when you import it. I'm not sure if that's one of the selections that included, but go and begin checking there, and if you can't find what you're looking for, Qlik Community is our friend here.
Great. Next question. Can you provide command for exporting QVF to SharePoint using CLI? Well, that's pretty specific. Uh, how familiar are you guys with Qlik CLI commands?
Nothing I've used yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
Qlik.dev
there you go.
is a good resource to share. That's kind of the place where we store all the information we have on our APIs. Start by looking at Qlik.dev, see if there's an answer there.
Thank you, Ola. All right, next question. See if we can get through these. I realize we're running out of time. What are the best practices for adding write back capabilities to a Qlik app? We had one about that before. Any plans to add these capabilities into the platform? Uh,
So this seems to be on-prem since it's
yeah.
enterprise or at least it's enterprise February. Nothing native, I would say. Then it would have to be one of our partners. There are many of our partners out there doing really good write-back solutions that you could look at.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if you want to do the annotation and commenting functionalities.
Next question. Is it possible to identify in which objects the variables defined in the app are used? It's a good question.
I don't think we have it built in. It goes back to using QSD or other tools if you want to see. I think they can show you where variables are being used, but I'm not certain about that.
The QSDA, what is that again?
Qlik Sense something
It's an
analyzer.
analytics app, right? The
Yeah,
app analyzer, is that it?
yeah, Qlik Sense app analyzer. So
There
it's
it
a
is.
product that you can sign up for, download, and then you can import your QVF files in there. And it will go through and see, is the data model optimal? Is the data optimal? Is the data being used or not? Variables being used? Which objects are the largest, and so on. But don't know that we have any UI or similar that where you could find what's being used where.
I know that there is a variables tab inside of one of the
Hmm.
monitoring applications,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that it shows exactly which objects are using all the
Yeah.
variables.
All right. Someone kindly shared this article about the distribution of measures to multiple ClickSense apps. If that might be helpful, we're talking about sharing information across, and that uses Qlik automation.
It's an
So,
application automation as well, so
Yeah.
that's good.
yeah, so I hope that's helpful.
And it's
Next,
a template also, so I believe you can download it and you can actually upload it and use it directly, which is always
yeah,
great.
I think I
Mm.
posted that in the chat. No, I didn't hit enter it. There we go. Next question, a follow up on that pivot table question. Maybe there's a better way to ask what I meant. Ungrouping was probably the wrong word to use. Is there a way for rows or columns that you can designate where totals are shown, such as before or after the rows or columns being totaled, or at the beginning or end of a pivot table?
I believe the new pivot table has the option for if the total is above or below, but I haven't used that much myself to see it. But otherwise, if it's a feature you're missing, Qlik Ideation is a perfect place to talk about what are your needs when it comes to pivot table, tables, and other objects.
That's great. Next question. Oh, we got lots of follow-ups here. Follow-up to the question on the old new tables. We use the old flat pivot table extensively in our apps. Is there an easier way to change them to the newer table other than manually recreating?
Currently,
Hmm.
no, but that's something I'll take with me because we've been talking about migration in the future. Not an automated migration. I think it's up to the user to decide when they want to migrate and how. But yes, we can definitely make it easier to move from one pivot table to another pivot table.
Great. Next question. Can we give access to the user according to the application, not the space? Is there an improvement for this? Uh, yeah,
I think you can
yeah.
do custom roles would be the thing. So
There we
if you
go.
create a custom role and you assign a user to that custom role, then you can include that custom role within your space. And that would mean that that user has whatever you put into that custom role. I think custom roles was quite recently released, so there should be material in the marketing design blogs and so on about it.
Yeah. Thank you. I felt like that was possible. Next question. How to change the layout, top, center, bottom of the cells in Qlik Sense?
So I guess this is text alignment. Right now, text alignment is just left, middle, right. So this would be a great thing to add to ideation. That's something you want to have, be able to dock it in top, bottom, and so on.
Yeah, that's a great
Yep.
suggestion. It might already be suggested. So
Yep.
take a look at what's available there. Next question. Is there any plans to implement the possibility to format the column border lines in tables and or pivot tables?
So I would say a product manager will always say that there's plans for it, but it also comes back to Qlik ideation. Go in there, submit your ID, get people to vote on them. So that's also what I haven't talked about, but you can go in there, you can read what other people have put in ideation, and you can give a thumbs up. You can add a comment in there. And as you can see, we have our own app looking at what's in ideation. I know product managers and other people are looking at the feedback in there. So if this is something you need and many other people need, write it in there, get it voted on, and then we'll make it into the roadmap.
Great. And next question. Will we have shared master items and dimensions between different apps?
Believe that is in ideation. I think it's actually quite high up, but I can't really see it here on your screen.
Yeah.
It should
But yeah, it's
share,
also,
yeah, it says there shared
yeah,
master
share
item.
master libraries
There
between
we
apps.
go.
Yeah.
Go in there, make a vote,
It's got
make a
107
comment if
votes
you
right
have, yeah,
now.
if you have any particular insights about how you want it to work or what your needs are, make a comment in there also. But the more you interact with it, the more we know that it's wanted.
All right. Next question. I'm not sure if the script question was understood or answered the way I was looking for. I do not believe a script app can be called with another application or a script using the must include function. Uh, just having trouble with the
Yeah.
QVS extension, but can't edit the text in cloud. Hmm.
If it's not possible to edit the in cloud and you can't use the script function that's available in cloud, in that case, right now, it needs to be done locally. I don't know of any other way to solve it in that case. But back to what we've been talking to, if it's a function or feature that you're missing, go to ideation.
Great. Last few questions. Today in Qlik Sense Enterprise on Windows and QlikView, we have a connection called Web Files. But this connection is not present in Qlik Cloud. Will it be implemented in cloud?
Um, there are connectors that are added. I think we add new connectors more or less monthly. I can't say that this specific connection is added, but there are also a lot of good generic connectors in Qlik Cloud as well that you can use. Maybe one of these could help.
Great idea. Uh, Next question. I have a data load script that performs complex incremental load script, insert, update, delete. Can this be feasibly migrated into the newly available data flow? It's a new feature that was added recently. Uh,
I would
Um,
hope so. I would
yeah.
hope it's a scenario we've planned around, designed around, and built around because it is quite common to do incremental load. So
yeah.
do try it out. If it doesn't work, go to community, ask questions about it. We'll have a look.
Yeah, I just did a recent video demonstrating that, but I don't remember incremental load if that
Yep.
was possible. But yeah, sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, but do check it
Yeah.
out and yeah, reach out to community. Let's see if we can squeeze in a couple more. We used to have a system to search where a field or variable is used, or will we have a system to search where a field or variable? That's talked about that, right?
Yeah,
Using
it
the
was asked for. So I would.
analytics.
It's also an ideation thing. Ideation thing. If you want it, do comment on that. Do let us know.
Uh, Next question. In a map graph or in a point layer with latitude and longitude, how can you use the status of a record, for example, a client with immigration status, to apply the shape of the point or color according to that status? So using some uh, icons, I guess.
Yeah, so if you're using color is the easier one. I mean, you can always use a color expression to say, depending on a value, use one color. I would say if you want to use symbols, then it's probably, as you're saying, you have to use multiple layers, like three layers with points on top of each other. You show or hide depending on if the value is something. And for each layer, you have a circle, you have a square, you have a triangle. So I would say multiple layers if you want to use symbol. Color is just color expression on one layer.
Great. We're running out of time, so I wanted to just thank our expert panel for today. And I love the great questions. I hope to see you again in future Q&A with Qlik sessions, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everybody.